Okay, I went and saw that goddamn movie. It's a long story about how this came about. It wasn't my idea, but so, gee, was it worth the trouble? No, it was not. I'd heard other reviews, and they seem to be pretty spot on. Basically, movie starts out not bad. And actually, I'm like, this might actually be good. Which I suspected that it might be good or just an okay movie. It's just the rollout of it and the sexist bigotry that they were promoting. And, of course, the idiot star. And all that compounded with it. And then the manipulations with Rotten Tomatoes, all of that nonsense and these lying media sites and whatnot for this very lackluster movie. So, yes, it starts off pretty good. And then it just falls apart and fizzles. And did it do any damage to the MCU overall? I mean, like in comparisons, could this be the Last Jedi of the MCU? Not quite. There's some amount of damage to characters. I mean, the main thing about Last Jedi was the total destruction of Luke Skywalker, which that movie did. It's not quite that, nowhere near that level here. You've got Nick Fury, who's basically a clown in this movie. By now, look, I'm going to just drop spoilers. It's all going to be out of sequence. I'm not really giving a full-on review of it. But Nick Fury, they tell the story of how he lost his eye. A cat that isn't really a cat scratches him, and it gets infected, and he loses his eye. Tee-hee, subverted your expectations. Boom, yeah, it's silly. Ha, 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 ha. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's just one thing here. So he's there to be a bit of a clown and kind of silly, holding the cat while the women do the fighting and stuff like that. It's this constant template of, in order for the women to be promoted and look good, the men all have to be brought down and stupid, which is a ginormous insult to women. It's just, they keep doing this. And that's within the comics and everything too. I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as Kelly Sue DeConnick's Captain Marvel, which is now in its 7th reboot now. I mean, it was a complete failure. And Carol Danvers died 5 years ago. She's gone. This isn't Carol Danvers at all. Of course, the gender swapping. One wonders that all the rumors is, hey, is Jude Law playing Marvel? And says that would make sense. What a clever way of paying homage to the original story and kind of weaving it in. No, none of that. Marvel's a woman. Annette Bening is Marvel. Well, she had his hair cut, so there's that. And of course, the real enemy, the villains are not the Skrulls. The Skrulls are actually innocent refugee victims, and I guess the Kree are Nazis. So there's that. And somehow, some way, Carol Danvers, in her Kree name of Verse or Verse, never caught on to this, that they're on the verge of committing genocide against the Skrulls. And the rest of her Star Force team, they all knew what the mission really was, but not Carol. So she's kind of an idiot. So anyway, the story, it kind of takes place, starts off in the middle. I mean, a lot of stuff has already happened, so you got to backtrack to how did she get there and all this sort of stuff. And it appears she was assigned to a Project Pegasus, which was this top secret project, to work on a light speed engine. And wow, boy, that's something. How did they get that far? Well, the scientist working on it was called Dr. Larson. She's actually Marvel, and she's secretly a Kree. And, of course, she was developing this technology in order to help the Skrulls escape the evil Kree Empire. And this is utilizing Project Pegasus to make this happen. And Bree was one of the test pilots to work on this. And they get attacked by a Kree soldier or agent, what have you. and they crash, and the agent kills Dr. Lawson, and in order to prevent him from getting her technology, Carol shoots at the aircraft, and it explodes, and this is what gives her superpowers. Now, in a roundabout way, that's similar to the actual story where there was a fight, because the Kree soldier who shoots them down is Jan Rog, Jude Law's character. So the original Captain Marvel, the man, was fighting with Jan Rog, and in the process of this, there's an explosion, and his DNA is somehow managed to mingle with Carol, and that's how she gets her Ms. Marvel powers, and she becomes Ms. Marvel. That was her name. That was her identity. That was her story. It's all been stripped away in the name of third-wave feminism, which is nothing but sexist bigotry, misandry, if you will, with a little misogyny sprinkled throughout. Yes. Well, so they had to gender swap Marvel, because we can't have their feminist heroine get her powers through a man, even though it was just kind of a dumb accident. But they still had to do that. Why? Because men are bad. They're bad, and that's that. Or they're just really stupid, which is the only saving grace. You can be evil or stupid. Those were your options in the movie. Overall, I would have expected more of the feminist crap, but it's there. I mean, the plot's there, the structure of it is all there, and so she's overcoming the patriarchy. Men were always holding her back, and then there's a scene where it just throws you right out of the movie, where there's a guy who literally asks her to smile. Oh, God. I mean, I kind of wonder if they went back and shot that to tack that on. I don't know. But anyway, so the first half is okay, is getting her to Earth and all that, although that's an interesting thing, too, because there's an attack on some Skrulls that she's a part of. They go, and she gets kidnapped by the Skrulls, and they're probing her mind for information. And then suddenly they're over Earth. It seemed to suggest that the Skrulls didn't have the technology to travel great distances, but my guess is that they have access to these jump gates, but that the light speed technology was something different, so that you wouldn't need the jump gates. You could just, your own ship could make the trip. You know, I don't know. They didn't bother to be clear on that. So she crashes on Earth, and then the whole thing begins. She encounters Nick Fury and Coulson, and that sort of thing. There's scenes where Fury just finds her in a bar that she goes to, and she has memories that she had been there before and all this sort of thing. No explanation of how he managed to do that. So he had a lead of someone who stole a motorcycle. Well, that doesn't really explain it. So she's gaining memories of, she was his test pilot and all that, and then eventually, little by little, she finds information out. They find information. He meets her. She's this alien woman who shoots beams out of her hands, and then suddenly he decides to take her to see Project Pegasus, which is at this like Area 51 base, and it just, come on, let's go. This is after he's encountered a Skrull. Coulson is impersonated by a Skrull who ends up dying in a car crash with Fury, and so they got the body. But Talos, the main leader of the Skrulls, has already infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. and so on and so forth, and they have a little chase, Scooby-Doo chase in the secret base and all that, but they still find the information she needs that reveals who Marvel was and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. The cat, which is actually an alien, was hanging around, and I thought, the cat was actually Marvel's cat, and the cat is still there at this base, and no one seems to realize that the cat's an alien. And I kept expecting the cat was going to suddenly turn into Marvel, and that was her disguise. She had figured out how the Skrulls do it. I don't know, but no, the cat's just a pet, and swallows up the Terrasact, or the Cosmic Cube. I mean, why do they got to call it that? A Tesseract, that's what it is. And so I guess this is the same one that the Skull had, and then Howard Stark finds it, and then they had it, but they retconned that whole story, which that does damage to the continuity of the MCU about the reasons that Fury had that and all that sort of thing. Well, Fury lies all the time. And so there you go. You don't have to, no, that's lazy. And the original story's better. It makes so much more sense. And it's just a lot of dumb, silly stuff. And it's just make it silly and then it's acceptable. And no, it isn't. You don't even care about your own narrative. You're too busy pushing this crap. And she's so shoehorned in. It just doesn't work. They should have just held off on the character and weaved her in through their new next phase. And that's another thing. The next phase is supposed to be more cosmic stories and all that. The Kree Skrull War was one of the big foundations of the Marvel comic story when it comes to outer space and all that. It's just the Kree, and the Skrulls are just helpless little refugees. They're not bad guys. And so there goes all the potential Fantastic Four stories, I suppose. Now, it was 20 years ago. Maybe the things have changed. But the whole thing was a battle or war between two empires. Not one empire and the other is just some poor ethnicity that's put upon by this evil empire. That wasn't it at all. So things really double down on the stupid with the songs. I mean, she gets captured again, and they connect her to the Supreme Intelligence, which takes the form of Mar-Vell, because this face means something to Carol and all that. So now all the secret's out and everything, and they start playing Nirvana, "Come As You Are." And the Mar-Vell character kind of dances to it. It's so stupid. And then, but the problem here is they had already established that Carol was taken by the Kree in 1989. The "Come As You Are" song, what was that, 92? And so that doesn't work. She wouldn't even know the song. And she said, well, maybe she heard it on the radio while she was on Earth briefly, and it got stuck in there. No, she didn't. It just, hey, let's get some Nirvana in there. That's 90s. And that's it. And then, of course, the big final battle, well, the second to final battle with the Star Force. They got to play, No Doubt, and I'm Just a Girl. And it just, oh, God, it's so on the nose. It's so bad. It's so cheap. And so the movie's crap by then. And then again does damage to the continuity. And for what? To shoehorn this character in. This again comes to one of those fan theories that, it'll be revealed that she was trapped in one of the Infinity Stones and she'll be freed, and then they'll have this new ally in the battle against Thanos and all that. Yeah, that probably would have been a lot better. But, where's she been for the past 20 years? Well, she's looking to find a home for the Skrulls. That's what she's doing. And so she fixes up Nick Fury's pager, and that's the signal device he used at the end of Infinity War. And she says, whenever there's an emergency, you call me and I'll come help. And boy, how many disasters has the Earth suffered in all the other movies? He never used it. It just makes no sense whatsoever. So lazy. And it's just terrible. Do you need to see it? I don't think so. It's just, the bad news is the end credit scene shows that she's there. The Avengers they've got Nick Fury's pager, and they're trying to figure out where the signal's going and what was he trying to do with it, and blah blah blah. And then boom, suddenly there's Captain Marvel. She's there. Where's Fury? And oh God, she has no presence whatsoever. This was badly miscast. And like I said, the open, she's not bad as it opens, and then it's like she's just bored to death to be there and kind of phoning it in. She just doesn't have the presence that she doesn't even have the presence that Evangeline Lilly has. She just doesn't work. I mean, it should have been someone else. But still, even with a better actress, the big problems of the movie is not even Brie Larson's fault. Certainly the rollout and her stupid idiot comments are her fault. It does damage to it, but because the movie needed all the help it could get, and that didn't help it. But just the plot holes and the damage to Nick Fury and stuff like that, just for what? Just to shoehorn her in there. It was all utterly unnecessary, unless, of course, you're deep in the Kool-Aid on this Missanders cult. Then everything else is secondary to that. So I guess that's what it was. Sure, it could have been worse, but that doesn't really help much. It really doesn't. And the fact that it does do some amount of damage to MCU continuity is part of the unforgivable nature of it. And it's just more of this bizarre preaching that we get from these really sexist, bigoted people. And I don't know where it's going to end. And according to comments from Feige, we're going to see more of it. And I guess he said we're going to have more female movies and whatnot. So I guess he's going to gender swap some more characters. I don't know. When they get the X-Men in, there's more of the more popular female characters from Marvel are part of X-Men. So, but look what they did to Spider-Man. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to give it stars of any sort. I just, this whole thing has just been a really awful experience, and a lot of these sites, critic sites and whatnot, have just damaged themselves terribly by lying about this, lying about hey, they review bombed it. They weren't review bombing it. They were answering a yes or no question. Do you want to see it? They answered no. That's all it was. But this is an alt-right Russian bot scandal, whatever. Good Lord. And it was all for this. Yeah. All right, there you go. Thanks for watching and listening. I guess this is more of a Nailsin ratings, but since I didn't do anything for Sunday Comics, we'll make it a Sunday Comics video. So there you go. Thanks for watching and listening, and bye-bye.